In this video, I'm going to show you how I bake, freeze, thaw, and ice cupcakes. Hi, it's Karolyn. If you want to learn how to bake and decorate amazing cakes, then I would love for you to join me by hitting subscribe and the bell. I get asked all the time how I make cupcakes, and I've never filmed it before because I really don't love making cupcakes. I like to focus on cakes, but I was making cupcakes this week, so I decided to film it for you guys. Now in this video, I am making 24 cupcakes, which is 2/3 of my recipe. And I have a video that I go into detail on how to divide the recipe so you don't waste batter. And I'm going to link that in the description. And I'm making confetti cupcakes, which is just my yellow doctored cake mix recipe with some rainbow jimmies added. And they're jimmies, not sprinkles. We're from Philly here, so we say jimmies. And also any videos that I reference with different recipes and tools that I use in this video will be linked in the description. So let's get started. In my oven, I have 2 cookie sheets on the bottom rack. I was told years ago that helps to evenly distribute the heat. I don't think it's necessary in these newer ovens. However, I've been doing it so long, I just leave those cookie sheets down there. You do not have to do that if you don't want to. Preheat the oven to 350 Fahrenheit. And I'm making 2/3 of the recipe. Again, I will link the video where I talk about splitting up the recipe so you don't waste the batter. I'm going to start by adding 2/3 cup of granulated sugar, 2/3 cup of all-purpose flour. And I have the scale. I will link that in the description. You always want to put the bowl on first and then set it to 0. And I'm adding 2/3 of this box, which equals 290 grams. And I'm going to turn this on low and add 2/3 cup of the whole milk. The whole milk I like to add cold. And then I'm going to add the sour cream, 2/3 cup of sour cream. I like to add that cold as well. I just like it when the milk and the sour cream is cold. You can do it room temperature if you want to. And then with the eggs, 2 large eggs, I like to add them at room temperature. And you add them one at a time. Make sure they're completely incorporated before adding the other one. And I'm adding my favorite flavoring, Wilton Clear Vanilla. Everybody loves it. I will link that in the description for you. You have to try it. I do not have a scraper blade, so I'm going to scrape the sides and the bottom of the bowl. If you have a scraper blade, you can skip this step. And I'm making this confetti, so I'm adding rainbow jimmies. They're not sprinkles, they're jimmies. And with doctored cake mixes, you want to beat this for 1.5 minutes to up to 2 minutes on about a 6 out of 10. You get to beat the air into the cake batter by mixing it after all the ingredients are added. That's just with a doctored mix recipe. And after that time has elapsed, I'm going to stir this, and look how beautiful that batter is. It's so pretty and nice and smooth. Now, I have these cupcake liners. I got them on Amazon. I love these. I will link them below. I like to use brown ones. And I fill these 2/3 of the way full. I don't have any fancy cupcake fillers. I just use like a tablespoon and fill it 2/3 full. And let's stick that in the oven and bake for about 16 minutes. And I'm testing it after 16 minutes and it was still not done. And then I waited like another 1.5 minutes. So it always varies between 16 and 18 minutes. And I let it sit there for about 3 minutes before I put them on this cake box lid. You can use a cookie sheet if you want to. I cut the lids off of cake boxes. And I'm going to pull out that 18-inch wide plastic wrap. I will link that in the description. And this is a 10-inch box lid, and this fits 24 cupcakes on it. Now when you put these on here, you want to make sure that they are not touching. You don't want to distort the shape of the cupcakes. And I'm lightly wrapping them. I'm just laying it gently on top so I can wrap these cupcakes, and I'm going to stick them in the freezer. Beautiful. And do you see how I stack these? So I put a cake box lid in between when I stack them on top, and I always make sure that they are frozen completely before I stack anything on top of it so I don't distort the shape. Now, a couple hours before I frost them, I take them out of the freezer, leave them completely wrapped in the plastic, and just let them come to room temperature. I want to let them thaw completely before I ice the cupcakes. I have this icing bag. I will link that in the description, and I like to use this swirl tip here. I will link that in the description as well. And I cut the tip off and push that tip all the way down. And I have a NutriBullet, and I like to use that cup. It's just easier. And I'm doing cream cheese icing for this. I have a video showing you how I make the cream cheese icing, and I will link that in the description. Make sure you don't overfill these bags. They're hard to work with if you fill them up. And then I like to try to get the icing towards that tip, and I put a little clip on the top. And I get these cupcake boxes at a local restaurant store. I could try to find them and link them below. You can get them online as well. Now I'm carefully unwrapping these cupcakes and just peeling it away. And sometimes they are a little sticky. If you find them to be a little sticky, just let them thaw out a little bit more and the sticky should go away. But I don't find that it's a big issue if it's a little sticky. I'm putting icing on top of it anyway. So I like to do a little swirl here. So I start in the middle and just swirl it around, and you stop squeezing as you get to the end so it comes to a little point. I just like the swirl that it makes. And let's close that up, and I'm going to do another one. So I have peanut butter icing on this one. I have a video showing you how I make the peanut butter icing. And I'm doing the same thing with this little swirl. And this one got distorted. Do you see if the cupcakes touch or if they are, it distorts the cupcakes. So just make sure that you gently place them in the freezer so they don't get distorted. And I'm doing the confetti ones with some cookie dough icing as well. And I have a video showing you how I make that. I will link that in the description. So there you go. Super simple and easy way to make cupcakes. And I don't make them, like I said, I don't make them all the time because I've said this in other videos, making small repetitive things like cupcakes or tons of cookies or tons of tiny decorations, that ain't my jam. It drives me insane. So I will only make non-decorated cupcakes. And even this week was a little bit crazy for me because I was doing so many other cakes that I was a little annoyed that I had to make all these cupcakes, but it was for my friend, so I did it anyway. Now, I don't remember what I said in the video, so I just want to review a couple things with you. Again, all the recipes that I mentioned in the video will be linked in the description, and a lot of people ask if I like to use cold or room temperature ingredients. The milk is always cold just because I don't like letting milk sit out. And the sour cream that I use is always cold because I feel like when sour cream gets to a room temperature, it gets like thin and soupy and disgusting. I like it when it's colder and it's thicker. So I just prefer to use it that way. You can use room temperature if you prefer, but the eggs that I use are room temperature. Now you saw me, I put the cupcakes on a cake box lid. I always cut the lids off of cake boxes and then I put the cake in there and I wrap it in plastic wrap, and I have a video showing you how I do that and I will link that below. But I always save the lids for, I put decorations on them or I put cupcakes on them. I always save the lids. Now, if you don't have cake box lids, you can also use a cookie sheet or something like that where you can easily transfer the cupcakes to the freezer and out of the freezer and all that. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, another point is I've gotten a few people saying this to me recently. You can't stack warm cakes on top of each other in the freezer. I've had quite a few people say to me, my cakes got squished when I put them in the freezer and I had them stacked. That's not how I do that. What I do, and I believe I mentioned in the video, I will put something in the freezer, let it completely freeze so it's solid before I stack anything else on top of it. So I believe that I showed once those cupcakes were frozen, I put another cake box lid on top, and then I took the cupcakes that were on the cake box lid and stuck that on top of the frozen cupcakes. That way they're not going to get messed up. And I do the same thing for cakes. If I have a ton of cakes to make, I will start a couple days early so I can get cakes in the freezer, get them frozen, and then the following day I can stack more cakes on top. And I usually put a cake box lid on top of the frozen cakes before I stack the warmer cakes on top. So don't stack warm cakes on top of each other. They're going to get distorted and messed up. Now, I made these a couple days before I thawed them. If you are going to make these more than a week in advance, I would recommend double or triple wrapping them in the plastic wrap just to protect them from freezer burn or anything else. If I'm going to keep anything in the freezer, I like to double or triple wrap it just for a little added protection. Now, whenever I make cupcakes, I always thaw them the morning I'm going to ice them, or a couple hours before I ice them, and I ice them the day before they're going to be picked up. I just prefer to do it that way. I don't like to have iced cupcakes sitting in the refrigerator too long. And I don't know, that's just my thing. I just feel like cupcakes sitting in the fridge are more prone to drying out a little quicker, so I don't like to have cupcakes sitting in the refrigerator for longer than 24 hours. Now, I've also had someone contacted me like a week ago or so, and she said that her cupcakes were always flat and she couldn't get a dome on them. And I preferred, like I showed in the video, flat cupcakes because when they're flat, then I can easily put that icing swirl on top of it, and then it doesn't look so big and weird. I don't know. Do you guys prefer flat cupcakes or domed cupcakes? I just feel like with this swirl decoration that I do, it looks better on a flat cupcake. So since I always bake them like this and they're always flat, I'm really not sure what to recommend to get your cupcakes to dome. If you know how to do that, please leave that in the comments for other people so they can learn how to do that. Now, another thing that people have said to me before is that they find the tops of the cupcakes to be too sticky, and I feel like if that happens, they just need to thaw a little bit more. Now, you saw, I think the strawberry ones, the very first ones that I did, they were a little sticky to the touch, but it wasn't that bad. And once I put that icing on top, like I feel like it's not that big of a deal, but my cupcakes usually aren't sticky on top. If you're finding that they are, peel the plastic off and just let it air out for, I don't know, 30 minutes or so before you ice them, and the stickiness should go away. And finally, I prefer to store my cupcakes in the refrigerator before they're picked up, especially if you have any icing that has cream cheese in it or something that needs to be refrigerated. They need to stay in the refrigerator. But I just like for people to travel with cakes and cupcakes that are out of the refrigerator. That way everything is cold and solid, and especially in these summer warmer months coming up, it's not going to melt as fast in the car. But I just always advise people to keep the air conditioning on blast and let it come to room temperature gradually. So I can't think of anything else to go over with you. If you have any other cupcake questions, leave them in the comments below. Please like this video if you liked it, and if you are enjoying my tutorials, I would be so grateful if you could buy me a coffee. My link is pinned in the comments below. And you can keep in touch on socials and check out my website. Everything is listed in the description. And if you want to stick around, you can watch this video next and hit subscribe and the bell if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys. And remember, it's cake. Have fun. I will see you on the next one. Bye.